everybody, I can't believe 2 weeks have already flown by. The weather is still really mild here for October, but Juncos have arrived. Just a quick reminder that Project Feeder Watch is starting on November 13th. If you haven't signed up yet, you still have time. For those of you who don't know what Project Feeder Watch is, it's actually a wonderful initiative that was started by Birds Canada and then Cornell to get all of us bird lovers involved with science and to help ornithologists have a better understanding of what's happening with birds out there in our backyards. I find it a fun activity in the winter. I actually count my birds on Saturday and Sunday when my kids are around, so it's like a family activity. And since you don't have to count birds every single day, it's only every 5 days for 2 consecutive days, I don't find it that time consuming. Anyway, here's a link to Project Feeder Watch. We'll send it in the email as well. And 2 more things I wanted to talk to you about on backyard feeding. It's flowers and fallen leaves. So if you haven't cut down your outdoor flowers yet, please leave them be if you can, of course, because there's always something living in them. This is a great shelter for all the little creatures that we don't see, but birds actually do, and they feed on them later as well. And as for the fallen leaves, as you might know, you don't actually have to rake them everywhere. You can rake them in the areas that you use all the time in the winter, but otherwise just pile them in one area of your backyard of your property that you don't use, because they become a great habitats for all sorts of things, and birds will find lots of food in those fallen leaves. And there is another use for all those fallen leaves. I've just learned something from a colleague of mine, Carrie. She tells me that she takes her strawberry plants that are, been hanging in the flower pots, and her petunias and her pansies in flower pots. Then she puts them on the ground this time of the year. She covers them with fallen leaves and just leave them there for the winter. And then in the spring, she pulls them out, shakes off all the leaves, cleans the pots, hangs them back up, and guess what? They all come back. Well, I've never done that, so I'm really curious to try it out. But if you have, please write back to me and let me know what kind of flowers you manage to revive.
Hi, Tom. This past July, you wrote to me about an unusually high rate of abandonment of osprey nests in Cook's Point Cove near Cambridge on the eastern shore of Maryland, where the Choptank River intersects Chesapeake Bay. You mentioned at least 3 nests which were abandoned, including one with nestlings in it. That last observation was very surprising to me because raptors abandoning their young is a highly unusual event. My initial gut reaction was the increasing presence of bald eagles in that region. Ospreys and bald eagles absolutely hate one another, mainly because the latter steal fish from the former and also prey on their nestlings and even fledglings. Bald eagles will even take adult ospreys if they can catch them. But here's a more insidious thing going on with these 2 species. Osprey populations rebounded decades ago when we banned organochlorines like DDT, which thinned their eggshells. Bald eagles were hit hard too and nearly disappeared, but they were not particularly numerous on the Atlantic region in the first place. But now they're expanding their range virtually everywhere on the continent, particularly on the 2 coasts. Because ospreys fall victim to bald eagles in ways mentioned earlier, they also will simply abandon an area that's been invaded by bald eagles. Lakes that formerly were home to ospreys are now owned by the eagles. I'm not saying that this is what caused the failure of those osprey nests where you live, especially after you inform me that you have a very limited bald eagle presence in your area. But what you could be seeing is hopefully just a temporary thing for this year. Perhaps a big decrease in food availability, or heightened disturbances to their nests, or even adverse weather conditions. You should get a better idea of what's going on next season. But do keep an eye on those bald eagles. Their impact on nesting ospreys can be quite subtle. What if you woke up in a future world only to discover that the only things left to eat on the planet were birds, and worse, only birds that could fly? How would you catch them? And not a far-fetched concept either. It turns out that some Spanish scientists discovered that ancient caves in the Iberian Peninsula, frequented by Neanderthal humans, actually contained the remains of choughs, or crow-like birds, that were captured for consumption. Since these birds are members of the highly intelligent corvid family and also well known for their speedy, agile flight, the scientists wanted to know how the Neanderthal hunter actually caught these birds. Likely no easy task. But when I searched for the original study published on the internet, imagine my total surprise to learn that one of the authors on the paper is Juan Jose Negro, a former postdoctoral student of mine and a dear friend. I guess I shouldn't have really been surprised because Juan always did think outside the box. So the three researchers actually took on the challenge of capturing some red-billed choughs, a common bird in Eurasia, particularly prone to sheltering in caves even after being constantly disturbed. Sometimes over 700 birds can be found in one cave. They found that large numbers of choughs can easily be captured without resorting to highly sophisticated tools at night. Use of butterfly nets after dazzling the birds with flashlights did the trick, but some of the birds were caught by bare hands when dazzled and cornered. All in all, over 5,500 birds were captured in 70 different sites and released unharmed. This strongly suggests that early hominids could use a combination of flaming torches and bare hands to capture choughs for the purposes of eating them. The scientists reckoned that about 2 to 3 choughs would make a nice supper for one Neanderthal. While I have indeed eaten crow on several occasions, I can't imagine they tasted that great.
Every year I like to check out both Australia's and New Zealand's Bird of the Year competition. Both countries have such incredible wildlife that I always end up learning about new species of birds. Well, Australia has just announced the winner of this year's competition, and it's the Superb Fairywren. Actually, it was a close call between the Superb Fairywren and the Tawny Frogmouth, and that's a new bird for me. I actually had to check it out. It looks like an owl. It's nocturnal, it's carnivorous, but it's not an owl at all. Another fascinating story. A young girl was fleeing Afghanistan and she arrived in the United Arab Emirates with a pet myna bird. Unfortunately, as she was about to board a plane to go to France, she was told that she couldn't bring her pet with her. The girl got so upset and made so much noise that attracted the attention of the French ambassador. So he was so touched by the girl's determination and love of the bird that he decided to take the bird under his wing and keep it. The myna is called Juju, and he has actually settled in quite nicely at the French embassy. He is learning French and already has a pigeon girlfriend that visits him every single day. The ambassador and the girl also got in touch after the ambassador had released a video of Juju saying bonjour. U.S. Fish and Wildlife has recently released a list of 23 species. Among them are 11 birds that they will be delisting from the endangered species list because these species are considered to be extinct. Among those birds is the ivory-billed woodpecker, and that declaration actually upsets a few experts. There's a group of dedicated searchers out there that claim that there have actually been sightings of the ivory-billed woodpecker in the wild. The habitat of this woodpecker is an old-growth forest and swamp in southern U.S., and if the bird gets removed off the endangered species list, then that habitat is going to have less protection. So now U.S. Fish and Wildlife has opened a 60-day comment window, so if you or you know someone who has seen or photographed the ivory-billed woodpecker, you have until the 29th of November to submit your comments and or your photographs to stop the woodpecker from being delisted. You know, when we were writing themes for our 2021 photo contest, an old friend of mine got in touch with me. We used to climb mountains together many years ago. And I still remember that incredible feeling when we climbed one of the tallest mountains in the Carpathians in the Ukraine. The feeling of being on top of the world. Wow, what an experience. Anyway, let's check out the top 5 of our On Top of the World photo contest. Here's the third place, the second place, and the the grand prize winner. Congratulations, everybody. Well, November is a pretty dreary month here, so we thought we'll have a photo contest full of colors. So the theme is birds and colors. Alright, it's time to say goodbye. If you enter photos into our photo contest, please don't forget to write the names of the birds, and I hope you'll sign up for Project Feeder Watch. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in 2 weeks.